Thanks for watching Alive TV. This is the Pulse for Thursday, September 27th. Now, I know I'm not the only one who thinks Galaga should be an Olympic sport, but my love for 80s arcade hits doesn't come close to the passion some people have. I mean, these guys are serious about video games. And if you don't believe me, check out the new documentary King of Kong about two guys vying for the world record title in Donkey Kong. The film was produced by Ed Cunningham, who you might recognize from ESPN. Ed happened to be in Columbus this week, and our own Melissa Starker caught up with him, playing Galaga, of course, at the St. James Tavern. Let's take a look.
It's a tale as old as Pong, man versus machine in the ultimate battle of gaming supremacy. As producer of the new documentary King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, ESPN personality Ed Cunningham has been in the trenches of the old-school video game world and come out with the dramatic tale of rivalry and sportsmanship surrounding the game of Donkey Kong. In town to cover the Buckeyes, Cunningham joined us at the St. James Tavern to play a friendly game of Galaga and talk about his movie-making experience.
The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, in a nutshell, is a middle school science teacher who's battling a hot sauce manufacturer for the world record on Donkey Kong. And the best part, I think, about the film, if I could be so bold, is it's funny, and it is, people enjoy it, but it becomes a drama. I met Steve 4 days after Twin Galaxies had sent the referees unannounced to his house to check out his machine. Wow. Because they suspected him of cheating. Okay. And it was just so fascinating to me that I was like, wait a minute, we are talking about Donkey Kong, right? And it was just fascinating to me that there's this group that takes it so seriously that they would actually fly someone across the country to look at his machine to see if it was a legitimate game, right. Because these guys are so specific about what game you have to be playing on, like what year it was issued and what the serial number on the computer chip is, and right. I mean they really take the motherboard. And so I met Steve, and he was kind of the window into the world, because we didn't know, okay, that's a fascinating story, but that's a chapter of a book, that's not a book. Right. And so we thought, let's go in and kind of look at this world and see if we can find the story. We didn't know, and quite frankly had our doubts about whether Steve and his story about Donkey Kong would be enough to make a film. Mm-hmm. So we scattershot. We looked at 10 or 15 different stories in the world, and even started dipping our toe in the pool of modern gaming. We didn't like the temperature of that water, so we came right back to classic games. And along the way, every time we showed up, and sometimes we were there covering another story we were chasing, for some reason, Donkey Kong was just present in everyone's mind. It was just being talked about. It was always a one of the top things that was being discussed, or decisions had to be made over whether to allow Steve's score and not allow it. So it just became very fascinating to us that our intro into the world became the story that was the one that just rose to the top. It was better than the other story, so it was the one we focused on. We definitely saw this as a sports drama. I mean, that's the way it unfolded in front of us, and the way that we chose to tell the story in the film was definitely, I mean, we have a song from the Karate Kid in the movie, and that's not by accident. That's really, those great 80s sports movies, they were good fodder for this film for us. I mean, we watched a lot of those while we were making this film. Oh, okay. But there's no doubt, when we went into it, and we went into this world, we kind of felt that way. We felt like this is really a sports environment. They're playing a sport, and whether we want to call it that or not, and there's always the debate, is it a sport or isn't it? But anyway, these guys have a great skill, and they're better than everybody else in the world at it, and they're competitive about it. So I don't know if that's defined as a sport by our general culture or not, but to us it was. To the question of sportsmanship, that was what shocked us. Okay. Was that, it's a video game is ones and zeros. If I drop a quarter in and I score more than you, I'm better than you. And it became so much more complicated than that. There was the game of Donkey Kong, which both guys are very well equipped to excel at. And then there's the game outside of Donkey Kong, which is the politics and the rules that are made in and around how scores are verified and everything else. And one of the guys was incredibly well equipped to play that game, and the other one wasn't. When we approached Steve about the possibility, and at that time we still didn't know if his story would be the one to tell or not, his immediate response was, yes, as long as the truth is told. You know, he felt like he didn't have a voice. And so he knew that this would give him the opportunity to have a voice. And since it's come out, he has watched it probably 70 times. He goes, I mean, it's playing in Seattle near his home. He'll go watch it just on like a Wednesday night. And, you know, he's a big fan of the film. Billy, on the other hand, we attempted to show him the movie before it was shown publicly. He was not interested in seeing it. For whatever reason. I mean, there's been a bunch of doc crews that have come and gone in that world, and none of them have ever made anything, so I think he assumed we were the same way. So he wasn't interested in seeing it then. And then, of course, after it came out and people started writing disparaging things about him, you know, he's unhappy with that. And he feels like he has been portrayed in a negative light, although we think it's a truthful light in what we witnessed. So I have just recently reached out and tried to open communications back up with him because I'd like to discuss his issues. You know, I don't have any problem with how the film is presented. I think we did as good a job as we could of being truthful to what we witnessed. And of course, everything is filtered through our brains. I mean, you know, it just happens. You see things the way you see them. And so I hope to have an open, honest dialogue with him. And at the end of the day, you know, we may just never agree on how things transpired, but you know, I would like to hear his side. Steve Wiebe, the one of the main characters in the film, has a line where he says it's not even about Donkey Kong anymore. And it was during that interview, which was very near the end of our principal filming, that we realized, yeah, he's right. It is about way more than just Donkey Kong. So the idea that much sportsmanship and lack of sportsmanship and a politicized environment, that blew our minds.
All right, thanks, Melissa. And thank you for watching. We'll see you back here next week for more live TV, and we'll see you every day for updates at columbusalive.com.